this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Introducing Home Care Plus, a new subscription service from Lowe's that helps make life easier by giving members a hand with home maintenance. Let Lowe's tackle the tasks you keep meaning to do, like electric dryer vent cleaning, replacing hard-to-reach light bulbs, and more. Subscribe to Home Care Plus for just $99 a year and consider your to-do list done. Members get more at Lowe's. Available in select zip codes only. Cancel anytime. Non-refundable fee. Product purchase required. Terms and service restrictions apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
The thing about AI for business, it may not automatically fit the way your business works. At IBM, we've seen this firsthand. But by embedding AI across HR, IT, and procurement processes, we've reduced costs by millions, slashed repetitive tasks, and freed thousands of hours for strategic work. Now we're helping companies get smarter by putting AI where it actually pays off, deep in the work that moves the business. Let's create smarter business. IBM.
This is Jay Shetty from On Purpose with Jay Shetty. Push it, bend it, flex it. Introducing the latest rule-bending innovation from Brooks Running, the new Glycerin Flex. Feel the freedom with a cushioned shoe made to move with you, so that you can bend or flex the rules. Brooks' new strategically segmented midsole works as an extension of your body, putting you in control of the run like never before. Want to feel the best parts of your run? Flex the rules in the new Glycerin Flex. Let's run there. Shop now at brooksrunning.com.
This is Sarah Spain from Good Game with Sarah Spain, brought to you in part by Vital Farms. Let me tell you why Vital Farms pasture-raised eggs are the only eggs I have in my fridge. The hens. They're living the good life. Fresh air, sunshine, and wide-open pastures. I use my Vital Farms for my famous frittatas. And you could trace your eggs back to the farm they came from. Check the carton for the farm name, pop it into vitalfarms.com/farm, and boom, you're looking at the pasture. So next time you're in the store, look for the black carton in the egg aisle and visit vitalfarms.com to learn more. Vital Farms. Good eggs. No shortcuts.
Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. I haven't traveled everywhere in the U.S. that I would like to go to. I'm ashamed to say that I've never been further north on in the northeastern corridor than Boston, and I love Boston. But I've always wanted to go to New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine and take that trip. I've been to most of the western states, with the exception of Montana. And there are other places I'd like to go to in the U.S. that I have yet to make it. We love to travel, Kimmy and I both do. One thing that I have borne witness to, though, that really stuck with me was many years ago, I got to pay a visit to Oregon and literally did an entire circle around the interior of the state. While I was there, I got to experience something that was quite remarkable. It's what's referred to as the salmon run. And it's when the salmon are moving up and down the Columbia River. Now, first off, being an old Southern boy and, thinking about rivers in terms of the Mississippi River, you think about, kind of slow moving, old man river, that sort of stuff. Columbia River is nothing like that. As a matter of fact, just standing on the shore of the Columbia River, and this is going to make me sound very unmanly, it was a bit terrifying. Because of the current, the rapids now beautiful it is, but I got to see the movement of the water from the interior all the way to the mouth where it dumps in to the Pacific Ocean. Today on Body Bags, I want to discuss a case that started all the way back in 1958. And it's not about a disappearance or a homicide of a single person. It has to do with the disappearance of an entire family that just vanished. But you know what? We now have answers. And we now have all that remains of that family. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags. Dave, I know I came to you with this case a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. I've been wanting to cover it, and for a number of reasons. First off, we've never covered anything like this. And secondly, of course, that's going to be at the forefront of what I'm going to say. This is courtesy of our dear friends at Othram. And it just goes to show you that I think that you never can tell where information is going to pop up, and not just in the sense of incoming data from a report or something like that. I'm actually talking about where you might recover a human remain that might be the key to a great mystery, a mystery that certainly impacted the Portland, Oregon area low these many years. Again, since 1958, if my math is right. I think that's 67 years ago, Dave.
You know, the shocking part about this, Joe, is from 1958, I think about Christmas Vacation. Yeah. And how they go, the Griswolds go out to find the Griswold family Christmas tree. And that's kind of what the Martin family was doing. You know, they were actually together. Now, Kenneth Martin and his wife, Barbara. Kenneth is 54, Barbara is 48, and they have 3 daughters, Barbie, who is 14, Virginia is 13, and Susan is 11. They do have an older son, but he was not with them on this Christmas opportunity. He's in the U.S. Navy at the time and was stationed in New York. But what they were doing, the family actually went to go out together to gather up greenery.
Right,
to decorate their home for the Christmas holidays. And I thought, I mean this, Joe, this is like something out of a fairy tale or a book. I mean, this is what movies get done, you know, the romance of a family and this togetherness of going out. I mean, all I could think of is, I wish I was like that. You know, I should have done that with my kid.
It's almost a Hallmark-like movie type thing, only without the hidden romance thing. Right. It's Norman Rockwell. It is, you know, and they go out in their old family car, which essentially looks like, well, it looks like a wood panel station wagon, and it's exactly, you know, in a few years after this, the Beach Boys, you know, with Woody, you know, and it kind of looks like that. And you think about, you know, the safety of that and how and what this pretends, I think, relative to the family going out together. And so the family would have had to have been very comfortable together. This is the area that they knock around in. But, you know, the thing about it is that not only did they disappear, Dave, their car disappeared. Lots of times where we'll cover cases where we have a missing person, you might find a car, right? And there's always like, you know, something like, we found the car, can't find the person, but there's blood inside of the car, or it looks like something has gone on inside of the car. That's not the case. We're not talking about just a family disappearing. We're talking about a vehicle that certainly back then is several thousand pounds. And then all of a sudden, they go out to collect greenery, and they're never, ever seen again.
I'm Carolyn. I have metastatic breast cancer.
I was concerned after my diagnosis. Kisqali gives me more life for living. Since I've been prescribed, I've seen a daughter get married. I now have a grandchild and another one on the way.
Kisqali, ribociclib 200 milligram tablets with hormone therapy, is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative metastatic breast cancer. Do not take with tamoxifen. In a clinical study at 80 months, women taking Kisqali plus letrozole lived over a year longer versus letrozole alone. Individual results may vary. Kisqali may cause serious skin reactions, liver problems, and low white blood cell counts that may result in serious infections. Life-threatening lung problems and abnormal heartbeats can occur. Your doctor should test your heart and blood before and during treatment. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening cough, chest pain, or dizziness. Before taking Kisqali, tell your doctor all your medical conditions, medicines you take, and if you're breastfeeding, pregnant, or planning to be, as it can harm an unborn baby. Common side effects include nausea, headache, and tiredness. Real patient compensated for her time. Learn more at Kisqali.com.
Hello. This is Malcolm Gladwell from Smart Talks with IBM.
Today we're diving into a fascinating conversation with Stefano Pallard, head of fan development for Scuderia Ferrari HP.
Your pronunciation is strongly American. It's more Scuderia Ferrari.
I'm still working on rolling my R's. But what I was able to learn from Stefano was the importance of engaging the tifosi, the Ferrari superfans, in the digital age.
Ferrari fans and superfans want to be part of something, want to belong to something. So they want to be part of a community, and ultimately they want to be part of a winning team.
You've got Ferrari, which is a long history, design history. And now you're interacting in a kind of digital space. I'm curious how you balance those two traditions.
When it comes to fan engagement, it's really digital technology and digital channels are the enable to create a deeper connection with our fans.
To learn more about how Ferrari and IBM are using technology to build deeper connections with fans, visit ibm.com/Ferrari.
$30 concert tickets are on sale now. It's Summer of Live, presented by Live Nation. $30 tickets to over 4,000 shows now through May 5th. Tickets are going fast, so don't miss your chance to see Kesha, Kid Cudi, Luke Bryan, MGK, the Pussycat Dolls, and so many more. Make it a summer of live music. $30 concert tickets this week only. Go to livenation.com/summeroflive.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
I can't do the arithmetic off the top of my head, but I can tell you it's nothing to sniff at. When, you know, Dave, when the family turned up missing, there was almost immediately like, and this is 1958, there was like, $1,000 reward offered. I think that for many people, that's like, back then, I might be misspeaking, I think that's like half a year's salary, essentially, on average. Wasn't it like $2,200, $2,400 per year that some people were making in like the middle class range? They offered $1,000, for information, and nothing presented. However, if I'm not mistaken, it was just a bit after the initial disappearance where we actually have a bit of evidence, and not just evidence, we have bodies. Didn't they find a couple of the family members not too long after they had disappeared?
Joe, the way this worked out, May 1st, 1959, this is happening. I want to back up for a second, because during the search for the family, tire tracks were found that led to belief that the family had been near a drilling rig along this area. And on May 1st, 1959, this drilling rig hooked something of substantial weight to its anchor. It became dislodged before it could be pulled to the surface, and in the early morning hours of the next morning, a fisherman and his wife reported seeing what appeared to be two bodies floating downstream near Cascade Locks. They later encountered the bodies near Bonneville Dam. So what the thought is here is that this drilling rig hooked on to the car, that the Martin family vehicle went in the river, submerged, and when it got hooked on this rig, it moved it around enough that 2 of the bodies came out. On May 3rd, Susan's body was recovered first. It says on the north bank of the Columbia River near, is it Camas or Camas, Washington? Do you know?
I think it's Camas. Yeah.
Camas. Okay. You know why I know a lot of these names? It's from Anne Rule books. Anne Rule wrote all of her stuff in the Pacific Northwest. And that's where I know these. Yep. Yeah. And now that area is about 70 miles west of the area they were actually looking at the time.
Can we pause just a moment? And because I got to tell you, Dave, I don't want to keep beating this drum, but this goes to how ferocious this current is, and this river. I mean, it's absolutely brutal. When you're talking about, if you've got a single entry point for a car, and can I submit something to you? It would not take this river. This river could take a car this size and easily move it along, even subsurface. It's just going to kind of be rolling along, almost like it's in a tumble dryer, man.
Wow, that's scary. That's scary to think about. But here's the other part, Joe, is that if you remember, the first thing we see in that in May, right, is the husband and wife fishing team where they spot 2 bodies in the water. But these bodies are not found next to one another the next day. We're talking in 1 day's time to go from being seen together, floating downstream. In 1 day's time, they end up roughly 70 miles away. And that was where they couldn't even identify the bodies, Joe. And that's what I was kind of worried about, because when a body is submerged in water like this, in a car with the windows rolled up, as you would think, that if they all drowned inside the car would take a beating on the outside, I would think. But if you were inside that vehicle, would your body deteriorate the way it would outside of the car? You're not getting banged around by rocks and trees and everything else, but I guess I'm trying to figure out, how is it possible that in a couple of months' time, they could not determine this was the body of Susan Martin without dental records?
Okay. So outside of the cabin of the vehicle, your remains or their remains would be subjected to not just the velocity with which the river would move you along, which is going to have, you're going to have impact trauma, postmortem impact trauma on the bodies. Okay. So, how I told you about, the speed with which this river flows, any kind of subsurface rocks that might be there. Also, anything that's on top of the water, rocks protruding out of the water. You have to think about the speed at which the water is propelling the bodies downrange. You're not going to have hemorrhage on the bodies. However, you can have bodies that are smashed in to rocks. Okay. Now, here's another thing. All right. If the bodies go subsurface and they're along, the river bottom, now, in addition to being sustaining postmortem trauma, you're going to have crustaceans that are in these waters. Did you know? I don't know if anybody has ever seen. We think about Alaskan king crabs, and they're really big. We think about our blue crabs that we have down here in the South and up to Maryland, that Maryland, of course, is famous for. We have them all along the Gulf Coast. I'm talking about, these are Dungeness crabs. Well, Dungeness crabs have this gigantic body and these gigantic claws. Guess what they like to eat? Well, anything that can come across on the bottom of a river, all right? There's actually a Dungeness crab season that takes place on the Columbia River, okay? Because you have to understand the Columbia River dumps into the Pacific Ocean. So you've got crabbers that work all along this area. These crabs are gigantic. So I think probably the closer you get to the mouth, the more brackish the water gets, and of course you're going to have these crabs that are there. In addition to, if there's any kind of indigenous crawfish or crayfish, as some other people say, we also run into things like turtles. Turtles are notorious for getting on bodies, and I don't know what species they have up there, but you couple all of that, it makes it really difficult for the medical examiner, coroner, when you recover a human remain that has been subjected to all of this. And then on top of that, even though the Columbia River is very cool, it's very cold, remember, they went missing back in December. Yeah. They're now found, I think it's in May, right? Yeah, and so we're moving down range to almost half a year. All right, I guess in July, it'd be half a year since they'd gone missing. You're still going to have decompositional changes, because you cannot slow. You can slow it, but you cannot make it cease at a cellular level of the body breaking down. So what are you relying upon? Well, the teeth and the jaws many times are very, very resilient, Dave. So with a body that you pull out of water, you can have like these huge dings on the head. You're going to have horrible trauma to the face, bone fractures and everything. But guess what? In this short period of time, the teeth would actually be intact. You would still have enough there to do a dental ID on both these kids. And I think that's what they wound up doing, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah. And that's the part that got me, was that in my head, I was trying to figure out how it transpired that, first of all, the girls were seen together, in the river by the couple. And then their bodies are found within 24 hours, but they're 30 miles apart on the river. Because you were talking about how rough the water is and how majestic this whole thing is. But both of the bodies were so damaged that they had to use dental identification on the girls. And yet they didn't find the other three. You've got two girls, but not the other three people. You still got Mom, Dad, and Barbie, and can't find them. And there was a report of a couple of different things along here, Joe, and I wanted to ask you about this because as they were being as the bodies were coming out, a worker suggested that they noticed bullet holes, possible bullet holes. And when it got to the autopsy, they didn't see any bullet holes. Could there have been damage like that from rocks and things like that in the water? I mean,
of course, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, okay, I mentioned the tire tracks that we're seeing. There were tire tracks that we're seeing going off a cliff and some other things like that along this river. And one of the things that was found in within the girls' clothing, aluminum chips. And that seemed odd until you go back and look at where that rig in the river hooked onto something heavy duty. And then the next day you've got, 12 hours later, you've got the bodies in the river. Okay. Well, that rig right across the river from that, it was an aluminum where they melt aluminum down.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you start putting these little things together and you're going, okay, we know they were all, we can assume they were all in the car.
Right.
Assuming they were all in the car up until the time that rig hooked it, the heavy thing, nobody knew what it was. 2 of the girls come out, but the other 3 don't. I mean, that's still really, in my head, I'm thinking somebody killed those girls and stole in my head, I mean, thinking like that in 1958 and 1959, because again, you mentioned the months here, Joe. December 7th, 1958, they go out looking for greenery. The girls were found the first week of May, 1959.
Yep. You think about that, and I think that any reasonable... Listen, nothing would be off the table. Can I go back to the bullet hole comment just for a second? In no report that I write or have written in the past, and those that I train, I encourage people never, ever to use the term bullet wound or bullet hole, because you're painting yourself into a major corner here, because there are many things out there that can insult a human body that will leave behind say for instance, there is no perfect circle, but a perfect to the unaided eye, a perfectly circular hole. And I've actually seen people that will see holes in bodies, defects in bodies, and I'm talking about cops. They'll say, that's a 9mm, or that's a 38 special, or that's a 22. There's no way to tell by merely eyeballing. So, Dave, one of the reasons I stay away from that is because I don't want to be painted into a corner. You know, when you talk about, from the forensic standpoint, when you're talking about trying to remain scientifically accurate, I will always use circular or irregular defect until I can prove it otherwise. And I'll allow the forensic pathologist to finally make that determination, because if you've got a bullet hole, say for instance, you're going to have a bullet track. Well, if you've got a hole that just punctures in to the surface of the skin, okay, is there an underlying track? Where does it go? And by the by, is there also a lead core projectile that's embedded downrange in that bullet track? Well, if there's not, and you've got, say, a bullet hole that's only maybe half an inch deep, you're really sticking your fanny out in the air there. I mean, you're going to look like a fool at the end of the day. So you have to be very, very careful. But I can tell you this. When it comes to a family who is missing along with their vehicle, nothing, and I mean nothing, should be taken for granted. The answers should always rest in the science.
I'm Carolyn. I have metastatic breast cancer.
I was concerned after my diagnosis. Kisqali gives me more life for living. Since I've been prescribed, I've seen a daughter get married. I now have a grandchild and another one on the way.
Kisqali, ribociclib 200 milligram tablets with hormone therapy, is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative metastatic breast cancer. Do not take with tamoxifen. In the clinical study at 80 months, women taking Kisqali plus letrozole lived over a year longer versus letrozole alone. Individual results may vary. Kisqali may cause serious skin reactions, liver problems, and low white blood cell counts that may result in serious infections. Life-threatening lung problems and abnormal heartbeats can occur. Your doctor should test your heart and blood before and during treatment. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening cough, chest pain, or dizziness. Before taking Kisqali, tell your doctor all your medical conditions, medicines you take, and if you're breastfeeding, pregnant, or planning to be, as it can harm an unborn baby. Common side effects include nausea, headache, and tiredness. Real patient compensated for her time. Learn more at Kisqali.com.
Hello. This is Malcolm Gladwell from Smart Talks with IBM. Today we're diving into a fascinating conversation with Stefano Pallard, Head of Fan Development for Scuderia Ferrari HP.
Your pronunciation is strongly American. It's more Scuderia Ferrari.
I'm still working on rolling my R's. But what I was able to learn from Stefano was the importance of engaging the tifosi, the Ferrari superfans in the digital age.
Ferrari fans and superfans want to be part of something, want to belong to something. So they want to be part of a community, and ultimately they want to be part of a winning team.
You've got Ferrari, which has a long history, design history. And now you're interacting in a kind of digital space. I'm curious how you balance those two traditions.
When it comes to fan engagement, it's really digital technology and digital channels are the enable to create a deeper connection with our fans.
To learn more about how Ferrari and IBM are using technology to build deeper connections with fans, visit ibm.com/Ferrari.
$30 concert tickets are on sale now. It's Summer of Live, presented by Live Nation. $30 tickets to over 4,000 shows now through May 5th. Tickets are going fast, so don't miss your chance to see Kesha, Kid Cudi, Luke Bryan, MGK, the Pussycat Dolls, and so many more. Make it a summer of live music. $30 concert tickets this week only. Go to livenation.com/summeroflive.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
So, Dave, let me get this straight. We've got, within less than 6 months, we've got 2 bodies, right, of this family, the Martin family. And just so folks understand, the 2 bodies that were found were the 2 youngest members of the family.
Right.
I have thoughts about that. You're talking about Virginia, who was 13, Susan, who was 11.
Right.
How did they get out of the car? And understand, I don't necessarily believe they got out of the car in the sense of they got out of the car in order to swim to shore. I think that probably, particularly if they were the diminutive of the family, the 2 diminutive members of the family, it is within reason that if that car broke up in some way, if it even went into the river, that those bodies could potentially float free of the vehicle. All right. And so, but that still leaves us with a huge mystery here. You've got 2, where are the 3? Is the car in the river, or did Dad get rid of these 2 for whatever reason and wanted to go start a new life? Is it, I don't know, little green men? I have no idea, but it is I can only imagine that back in 59, when these 2 young children were found, the rest of the community is sitting there thinking, where in the world is everybody else? How do you just vanish? And I would assume that all eyes would have gone to the Columbia River at that point in time.
There was a huge investigation, obviously. And I was looking over some of the reporting at the time, the newspapers and things like that. And there were a number of reports being written up about evidence found in the area, suggesting that a gun with dried blood was found near the river. And it was the same gun that was stolen 2 years earlier from a sporting goods store where the oldest son of the Martin family, who was in the Navy stationed in New York at the time of this, that he had stolen this from the sporting goods store he was working at the time. Those were the type of reports that were coming out of the area because they had no answers, Joe. There were no answers. When they find the 2 girls' bodies, I go back to the rig hooking onto something in the water. And then within 12 hours of this big thing being hooked, the 2 bodies are found in the river. They're seen together, but they're found 30 miles apart the next day.
Yes.
I mean, I'm so glad you pointed out the strength of this river, because that's where I start looking at this. And all of a sudden, Joe, if you think about a car that has been at the bottom of a river, let's just say it's been sitting there undisturbed, and now it gets hooked and gets disturbed, and the 2 smallest somehow end up outside the vehicle and floating down the river. The story ended because that's all that was found, 2 bodies that had to be identified by dental records. This mystery became the stuff of campfire stories. The guy with the hook. Yeah. And you have to go forward so many years now. You've got to go, 67 years?
Yeah. Well, yeah. 67, 66. Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right.
There's one guy, a diver, And this is not a river you're going to dive for leisure. If you're going to get into this water, you're looking for something, and you better have an expertise or you're not coming back up.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah.
And there was a guy who had an idea, Joe. There was a guy. I know a guy.
I got a guy.
Yeah, I got a guy.
Yeah, I got a guy for this. And listen, this type of diving. A good friend of mine, I recommend you check him out. Bobby Chacon. He originally set up the FBI dive team evidence recovery team. I know that's redundant, but Bobby is just this incredible person as a professional and just an all-around great guy. I mean, I've gotten to know Bobby, and I've talked to Bobby about the incredibly incompatible environments he's had to go into, incompatible with like life that he's had to go into. And I'm not just talking, it's not like you go diving in like the crystal clear waters of the Caribbean. He's gone into very austere environments, areas where there's a lot of sewage, and area where, you're getting into these rough waters where you literally have white water. And that's a very specific type of skill set. And just to try to understand the topography in an environment like this, where, by the way, it can change at the drop of a hat because of the fury of this water that's rushing over this. And you begin to get things like snow melt that's going to be back to the east where it's running off of the mountains. And the fury of the river it doubles at that point in time. So, and this happens every year. It's gone on for eons. So you think about who would have this kind of skill set and have the ability, and also who would have the want to be able to go down there, because it takes a very special person to go subsurface in this environment. And here's one thing I'm thinking about, particularly in a river. It's not like, I talked about the Caribbean where, maybe you're floating around and you're looking down, you see the beautiful fish. Oh, look, there's a shark over there. I'm going to swim over here. I'm going to stay away. Dude, you can't see anything. Most of these rivers that these guys go into, it's done by feel. You kind of climb or crawl, rather, along the bottom, kind of touching surfaces to see what's there and what you can appreciate. And can you imagine trying to work a crime scene underwater like this where you're doing it by feel, Dave?
And I'm so glad you pointed that out, because you can't see anything. You're actually having to go down and look for something based on, in this particular case, I think the guy's name is Archer Mayo. And Mr. Mayo had been researching this case for a long time. And he went back to the to the Cascade Locks in the Columbia River, where where they had hooked something big. And, nothing came of that in 1959, except for 2 bodies found down the river, but they couldn't put 2 and 2 together on that. Yeah. And so when Archer Mayo, who is an expert diver and researcher, apparently, because he went back to the Cascade Locks, Joe, he got in the water. And as you said, he had to find his way the best he could. But 50 feet below the surface, Joseph Scott Morgan, at the Cascade Locks, Archer Mayo found something. He was able to bring up parts off the something. Not the whole thing, but parts. And it was enough for them to go, hey, wait a minute, this is the station. This is a vehicle that matches the station wagon that the Martin family was driving at the time they vanished. And based on the information from before,
right,
they decided
to approximate it.
Yeah.
Here's one of the interesting things when you're working an old case like this involving physical evidence. With motor vehicles, there are certain locations where serial numbers are stamped, where there are specific markers with automobiles. Now, you might not necessarily recover like a VIN number plate, but there are certain areas, and there are people out there in forensics, Dave, that deal with nothing but cars. Period. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Well, motor vehicles. Yeah. And if you think their information is limited to modern vehicles, it's not, because they can go back in time and they understand the structure of vehicles. They understand how they're built. And they also understand the little bitty unique characteristics of people, just where a certain turn of the metal has taken place that makes that vehicle unique to that particular brand. Think about that, and then think about all of the changes that have taken place with this motor vehicle over a long period of time. From what I'm understanding, the vehicle actually came to rest in what they are referring to as a pit beneath the surface of the water. And so you have containment in this area, and I would imagine that there would be somewhat of a debris field that's around whatever is left of the superstructure of the vehicle. You know, it's there, whether it's the frame itself. You can imagine the wood paneling, you know, that may have been on the sides or whatever, or the faux wood paneling, tail lights, all that stuff. It's probably gone. So now you're just merely staring at a metal skeleton being the functional word here, Dave, because, you know, they came up with initial pieces of the car. Is that what you said?
Yeah. And, you know, and that it was enough. The diver was able to bring up enough of the vehicle to get more help, because what they ended up having to do, they used a vacuum dredge. And I only know about these because I watched these, I watched some crazy TV shows of the gold guys, you know.
Gold mining. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Using a vacuum dredge at the bottom of a river. Anyway, and that's what they used. And by the way, they found several vehicles. There wasn't just one. They found several in the search for the Martin's vehicle. They being the experts, once they realized we do have a vehicle down here, that was in 2024. They arranged to start pulling out. It's a dangerous effort. So they do use vacuum dredge. They pull out rocks, silt, and everything else, and they're able to get the frame and the I'm trying to remember. They what do you call it? Come on, Dave. They were able to get the frame of the vehicle and the motor and other parts of the vehicle out of the river, and they sent it to the Oregon State Crime Lab to be examined. The axle and the engine. That's what it was. I was trying to, God, it was more than just the frame, because the frame, you know, is not going to be the whole thing. And it's going to be parts of it. Same thing with the axle and the engine, but enough of it that they were able to take it back to the crime lab and break it down and say, yep, this was the Martin family vehicle.
Well, one of the other problems that they had when the sheriff's office got involved, and I'm not disparaging the sheriff's office, I'm just saying when you start to get all hands on deck for this thing, they did use a crane to begin to pull this thing up. But unfortunately, as they're pulling up, you know, kind of the superstructure of this thing, they don't get everything. Some of the stuff kind of falls back down, and it left. I get the impression that the vehicle is inverted, so it's on its roof essentially, and it left the passenger cabin of the vehicle upside down in this, you know, this pit that I'm referring to. So you're pulling off the axle, the transmission, maybe the engine block, and you're not getting
that. Okay, now I understand how come that came up. Okay, thank you. I couldn't figure that out.
I think it's inverted, and so when you pull it up like this, and it's a good thing that they were able to pull it up, because if you can go. It's like dealing with guns, with firearms, where people have tried to eradicate, you know, like serial numbers and things like that. You got to take this to a controlled environment. There's no way you're going to, hey, boys, let's put it up on the bank and check it out. No. That's why they took it to the state crime lab. There are certain applications that can be used on metal surfaces to, say, for instance, if you're looking for serial numbers, and certain serial numbers will match up with models, okay? And also other features of the vehicle. You want to try to examine these. And Dave, this thing is going to have all kinds of incrustation all over the top of it. All right, everything from rust to anything else that's silt that's settled on there, it's going to stain it. This is not an easy undertaking. So with that, if you get this out of the water, you can confirm it that it's possibly the same vehicle. Then you go back down and see what else you can find. And Dave, I got to tell you, when they went back down there, contained within the cabin of the vehicle, I'd be doggone if they didn't find the rest of these remains, Dave.
Unbelievable that 60-something years later, they're able to find 3 human bodies. They found the remains, and, like everything else, you cannot assume anything. The bodies that were found inside the cabin of the vehicle had to be tested, and they were, and it came back positively identified.
Yeah, that's one of the really fascinating things about this. And if I could just talk about this just a wee bit. If you have intact skulls, on these bodies, I don't know if the teeth would still be there. If you can find sample from maybe one of the long bones, but the skull is what I'm focusing on here, because Othram on unidentified bodies likes to harvest from 2 spots, They love to get a molar, all right? They love molars. The other place, you're going to like this, is inside of the skull. So if you take the cap of the skull off, and if people will just imagine where your fancy terms, what they call the external auditory meatus, which is the holes for your ears, if you find out where your ear holes are, your auditory canal, and go slightly above that area inside of your skull, just imagine you're going inside your skull. There's like a ridge line that runs over the top of your auditory canal in there, and it's a ridge, and it's called the petrous bone. Petrous, like Peter, Petros, who built my church on the rock, right? Petrous. And if you carve out that bit with a saw and you harvest it, it's really thick, really, really thick. And so you take that sample and send it to where? Well, our friends at Othram. And the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office got involved in this case, as well they should have. All right. You've got 3 decedents here. Right. You've got remains that have been compromised. Brother Dave, 67 years after the fact? What you going to do, man? Well, we're going to turn to our friends at Othram. And after all of these years, they send this stuff downrange to the Woodlands, Texas. And it's because of what the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office, the Hood County Sheriff's Office decided to do with this and put this into the hands of the middlemen, that they were able to get these bodies identified. And they determined that it is, in fact, the Martin family. My friends, let me tell you something. We're in a brand new age, unlike anything else we've ever seen in forensic science. And if in fact you want to get involved, if you think you would love to be a forensic scientist and you're frustrated because you think you're too old or it's too late to go back to school, but you still want to help out, here's the way you do it. You go visit DNAsolves.com. And there, I just checked it out today, and there are a whole list of images there, and they actually have the numbers of dollars that they are into each one of these cases that have been donated to date. These are open cases. Guess what you can do? You can look this up by maybe the region that you live. You can look it up, or you can view it by virtue of something that really interests you, maybe an unsolved sexual assault case or an unsolved homicide, or just a skeleton that has been found. You can make a difference in these cases. All you got to do, go to DNAsolves.com, and they're not asking for $1 million. Just throw a couple of bucks their way. Every little bit helps. People prattle on and on about, well, they need closure. Well, you know, Morgan doesn't believe necessarily in that term. But what I do believe in are answers. And those answers, in this particular case, rest in science. And the science is currently being practiced at Othram Labs. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags.
Today's episode was brought to you by Simple Mills, the feeling of the sun in a delicious snack. From their tasty crackers to their crunchy cookies, Simple Mills snacks taste good and are good for you because they're made from purposefully chosen ingredients. That purpose? Lifting you up, never weighing you down, so you can keep shining through the day. Find Simple Mills at your grocery store.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only machine washable sofa inside and out where designer quality meets budget-friendly prices. That's right, sofas start at just $699. And now's the perfect time to upgrade during the Memorial Day sale. Get up to 60% off site-wide. Enjoy a no-risk experience with pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and changeable slip covers made with performance fabric. Experience cloud-like comfort with high-resilience foam that's hypoallergenic and never needs fluffing. The sturdy steel frame ensures longevity, and the modular pieces can be rearranged anytime. Shop washablesofas.com to save big this Memorial Day, backed by a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not absolutely in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping or restocking fees. Every penny back. Don't miss the Memorial Day sale. Upgrade now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Are you trying to get weight loss support through telehealth, but it feels overwhelming and rushed? Check out orderlymeds.com now. Orderlymeds.com was built to be different. Here, you connect with real doctors who take the time to understand your goals, review your eligibility, and guide you through a plan that's right for you. Orderly Meds provides access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide, including both name brand options and personalized compound versions when appropriate. So you have choices backed by clinical oversight, not guesswork. It's a simpler, more supportive telehealth experience designed around people who want clarity, care, and confidence in their weight loss journey. And your medication is delivered directly to your home in discreet packaging, so your experience stays private from start to finish. Do your research, ask the right questions, then visit orderlymeds.com/podcast for an exclusive offer. Again, that's orderlymeds.com/podcast. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Ever wonder how to make hosting look effortless? Here's a secret. Getting ahead of the mess with new Reynolds Kitchens countertop prep paper. Just lightly wet the counter beforehand so the paper grips and stays in place. Then lay down the Reynolds Kitchens countertop prep paper so drips and spills stay on the paper, not all over your kitchen counter. You can roll out dough, prep a party spread, or cook alongside family. When you're done, cleanup is as simple as lifting the paper and revealing that clean counter underneath. Effortless. You can use it for cooking and baking prep and even crafting, especially when you need extra working space. Because when the mess is already handled, you can focus on what matters: the food, the people, and the moment. It may look effortless, but now you know it's Reynolds Kitchens countertop prep paper. Take a tip from me: wet it, set it, prep it, done. Make it easy. Make it with Reynolds Kitchens countertop prep paper. Available now in the Reynolds Wrap aisle in Walmart and Target.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.